go for 7 o'clock then. 7 o'clock then, everyone welcome to February's meeting of St Albans Parish Council. And we welcome tonight our new councillors for the recent election, so welcome and see how tonight goes. But welcome to the parishioners that have come tonight to hope and ask some questions of the council. So we received apologies.
Apologies from Councillor Jones.
Okay, so that's apologies from Councillor Jones. Item 624 of 25, declarations of interest. So, to receive disclosure of any pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest pursuant to section 31 of the Lincoln Act 2011 from councillors on matters to be considered at this meeting. I'll make a declaration pecuniary or non-pecuniary in terms of printing costs. And at that point, in line with standing orders, I'll have a meeting at that point to Councillor Todd while I step out and let me discuss it, and then I'll step back in once you've come to an agreement. So, just myself. To approve the minutes of the previous meeting, 28th of January 2025.
There's just a small amendment that I would make, a typing error. So if you could initial that as well.
Councillor Gardner.
Is it?
So easy if you change the name. So in terms of the minutes then, I'll just go through page by page. On the first page then, point 609 and throughout, there'll be amendments to Councillor Gardner's surname. Any observations, page 1?
Chair, I can't remember which one is it to do with the poppies, but because it was asked by a parishioner, I want to make a point for the council. I also noticed in the minutes there was an action, which was obviously something that needs to happen. So the minutes prepared an action point regarding the process for poppies. I'd like to confirm who is going to be directed to purchase the poppies and how many poppies. I'd also like to say for the record that it was stated at the last meeting by the parishioner that there was more poppies in the deer park area than there was in the rest of the area, and that's my fault because I purchased 100 poppies 5 years ago. They have nothing to do with the parish council, and that's the reason why there's more in one area of the parish than another.
Basically, you can't change any of that.
I purchased 100 poppies, which was in the deer park area.
So that wouldn't matter to
The parish council's never paid for 100 poppies ever. I'm talking about the poppies, not the 80-year population.
We're on that.
Should we just hang fire on item on agenda item any matters rising at 626, we can come back to that conversation if that's okay. So page 2. Page 2, councillors, any observations? Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. And page 7. So that's on there now. propose that as an accurate reflection of the minutes. Councillor King, so second. Councillor Gardner, all in favour? There's three in favour, anyone against? And those who wish to abstain. So we have 4 abstainers on the basis of that. Item 626 then, to receive and note any update on actions arising from previous parish council decisions not included elsewhere on the agenda. So, Councillor King, you brought the matter up on item in terms of poppies, which is item on the last minutes. Can you just clarify what the issue is?
So what I'd like the council to consider is how many poppies to purchase and who's going to purchase the poppies in time for the next remembrance of those. Unfortunately, historically, that's been left with the clerk, but we've got a number of clerks and therefore it's never got to that point. So it's best to start it early.
Yeah.
You may not be able to use an RBL to buy them yet, but put the order in. That's my proposal.
Okay.
Would that be something we put on the next agenda?
Yeah, so what I'll do then is I'll have a look at what's on the RBL website in a minute, but we can schedule in a particular time when we get a bit closer to determine how many we want. I can order them, get them delivered to me, and then I can...
Councillor Jablonski.
Jablonski's,
Yeah, did I say it right?
more or less, yeah.
Okay, well,
Don't take offence on that. Just to clarify, there were absolutely no copies in this area, and I recall at least twice previously the parish council has purchased copies, and so I think you said you remember that as well. So I think there needs to be a check as to how many the parish council has previously purchased. If you're saying you bought those, they're yours, that's fine, but there have been copies purchased, so we need to find out where they are.
I've got poppies, and they'll be on the asset of the ones we purchased last year.
Right.
So just a little bit of background. A couple of 3 years ago, took hold of
Yeah.
the stock, and basically we went round over time, what went missing, and I know what the numbers are, but at the end of the day, you're right, we've got an item on the agenda tonight around the asset register anyway, and once that's complete and circulated to all councillors, we'll have a good idea of what the council owns and what we've got and what have you. And then from there, hopefully the next agenda item next month, if it's necessary, or it's on the agenda, we can talk about the poppies, but I can fill the gaps in then, because I don't think much is achieved tonight. I'm talking about these 2 bags of poppies. My garage might be, but we'll resolve it.
Yeah. Can I just check? Is there still a register of all decisions from the council, so we can check them through that? There used to be a big book where all the council decisions.
The minute book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got the minutes from this year,
Yeah.
I've got the minutes from the previous years.
It's just that if we previously purchased them at least twice, isn't it? So at least
Should be on
twice.
the website.
Yes, it should, yeah.
Because there was a news that I was attending, I didn't know.
But this used to be a big book where decisions, because every.
Yeah, it's the minute book contains
Yeah.
all of the minutes of all of the meeting year by year. I mean, I've only got back to 2019, 2020. So that's all I've got.
It was just an easier way, like people can check the records, you can check every agreed spend.
Yes, I have to because when I put it on Scribe, I have to put what the minute number is.
Yeah.
So I go back and check on there when it was agreed.
Okay. Have we got any other?
I'm just wondering, is it going to be easier to go through bank statements rather than going through trolls of minutes to the RBL?
Well, I mean, I've got an invoice from RBL from earlier on this year.
But that's not the poppies though, that's the 80 years.
Is it?
Yeah, so that's the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to go go further back than that.
Right. Fine.
Item 627, I've welcomed new parish councils to sign the declarations office if not previously signed. I've got to say, it's all done. And without harking back, the absolute drama we had last year over Councillor Jones getting legal advice, disrupting meetings and trying to push the signing of paper as demonstrated today can quite simply be done. So it is welcome news that we're able to get through a simple process today. So thank you, councillors, for putting the time out to meet with the clerk prior to tonight. So item 628, electors to address the council. So that's really open to the floor now. So if any of our commissioners wish to ask any questions of the council, I'm happy to oblige.
I've forwarded some information to Councillor Jablonskis about the day celebration and just wanted to kind of put it on your radar. Is it something that the parish council would like to run something for in remembrance?
So is this going to be, it's quite interesting this, because we've got some 80 signs, but they were for the Normandy landers,
Yes.
and now VE Day.
Yes, it's a different
Pass it
yeah.
on to.
Yeah, so I've got just a little bit of information here which I was going to do in my clerk's report, just to highlight it, and then we'll bring it back to the March meeting to discuss properly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we'll quite likely have a party on our street.
On your street?
Yeah.
Oh,
You might
okay.
know, yeah, come to Dave, you're always welcome.
So is that like a parish, do you want to do something with the parish?
I just think it's worth,
Yeah.
I think it's worth celebrating.
No, definitely.
There's a lot of history around the area, so yeah, there's a whole website that's dedicated to it and support for street parties and lighting of lanterns and fish and chips and yeah, it could be a real celebration. So just wanted to really put it on your radar.
Thank you. Have we got any other questions?
I've got a couple of, I don't know if they're questions or they're just my statements and observations, Chair. Looking through the parish council, you've got a co-option policy, which I believe that you've got, and we're obviously in a cost of living crisis, the money's very tight, we want to spend frugally and we want to spend efficiently. So I'm just a bit perplexed as why when I asked Gedling at the cost of this election, which was £9,000, the previous one was £3,000, and I believe that was because it was tied into borough council elections. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's circa about £9,000 when we have councillors who are now on the council who could have been co-opted onto the council and have asked before to be co-opted onto the council. So that's my first observation or statement. My second one is, I have a list, is previously one of the councillors who's now on parish council stated they didn't wish to support the parish council because they would chair a local community group, and that community group does great things in the community. But therefore, what's changed in those circumstances, presuming that if they are still the chair of that local community group? They're my two questions, statements or observations. Thank you.
Can I make a response to that, please?
Yeah.
I don't, being co-opted onto the parish council is not the same as being elected. Being elected gives more legitimacy when speaking to the voters, and I wouldn't want to be co-opted onto a parish council. It just gives more legitimacy if you're elected. I'm sure it's called democracy, yeah. I'm sure my two colleagues would agree with that, and yeah.
Can I respond, Chair?
Say again.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah,
That is great. You're a parish council, it's £9,000, and I think it's, as a parishioner, I think that is a huge waste of time. I don't think it changes, you know, if you want to join something and there's a co-option policy, why have that policy in the first place?
Because it
I'm speaking. Thank you. So why have that in the first place if it's not something to prevent such waste of money? £9,000 for for parish council is not a small amount of money, and it could be so better utilised using all the great things that this parish wants to achieve but cannot achieve because you are ununited. You're dysfunctional and you don't communicate in an adult appropriate manner.
I strongly disagree with that. I've been here, 25 minutes now, and I'm pretty old now. It's plenty more organised than any political meeting I've been to be honest.
Fabio's been here 25, I've been living this for like 6 years, young man. You've just been onto it now for 25 minutes. So I'm now actually, put it?
That's council.
Are we going to get into the MP fight where you're going to like punch me and tell me that you don't disrespect again? Is that what's going to happen?
Shall I,
Chair, thank you very much. I have the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I think, councillors answered the question in a way that it is a legitimate way. And I know from code of conduct training that I attended with basketball training, co-option, in their view, sometimes can just get mates rates, so it's mates getting onto the council. But as we've seen, I think, peculiar to this council, we've had an election out of 2,500 residents. We've got one resident that's actually stood. So I can understand the frustration of parishioners. At the same time, I think it's fair to say that it's also a legitimate democracy. So that's the advice I've been given. Without my own views, I don't think it's relevant because I think parishioners brought it up. There is that feeling, would it be saving money? But unfortunately, that's the world of politics. Councillor Rachel.
Yes, I mean, I do sympathise with what you're saying. It is a lot of money. However, the council has to comply with the law. And the law does say that if sufficient number of parishioners petition for an election, then an election there will be.
Councillor, I absolutely agree with that for petitioning. It's just unfortunate that we had to petition when I'm sure yourself would have been co-opted onto it and we would have just not had the waste of the £9,000. So I think it's just, if you're happy to waste £9,000 when it could have been co-opted, we just have a difference of opinion of what we spend money on and how we spend the money on. That would be a lot of poppies bought for £9,000.
This is true.
Unfortunately.
I don't think we wasted £9,000. We've let the people of St Albans exercise their democratic right, and that's the price you pay for paying the democracy.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Gardner, and I kind of think, I think we made our point, so if I let Councillor Gardner finish, Councillor King's indicated about to speak, and then we'll bring it back to if there's any other questions, if that helps. Councillor Gardner?
So I just want to ask, does anybody know what our total budget is per year that we get from the government? Is it 30 or 40?
About £29,000 between 29.
So I understand your frustration when you put it in percentages. That's a crazy percentage when you think of how much money we make and we've just had an election. I understand your frustrations.
No, but it was actually more just my statement, my observations. I started at the beginning, so I'm not sure it's necessarily a question. It was just my statements and observations that I wanted to raise. So,
I just want to acknowledge and agree, sort of in a way, that as a percentage basis, that was a lot of money.
Okay, thank you. Councillor King?
Councillor Gallagher wants eating sandwiches. It's a third of the preset. It's a lot of money. And that third of money could have been used for a million other things. I asked you to be co-opted on many times. Rachel, you were previously co-opted on. I also accept 10 people can call for an election. 10 people out of 2,500 people. Do I think that process is fair? Actually, I don't actually. It just goes to prove we've had 2 elections this year. If we kept going at that rate, we wouldn't have enough money in the preset to continue to pay for elections. So if another person left next week, we could end up having another election. And is that a good way of spending money? Probably not. So that's my own opinion.
Okay. I'll draw it to a close, but I think it's key. There is a democratic right for elections. It is a legal process, and I think for the parishioners we accept, but also frustrations of the cost involved. Is that acceptable, councillors? Yeah. Okay. So we received reports from our Gedling Borough councillors, from county councillors, and then we'll move on to reports from the individual parish councillors. So, Councillor Rachel Ellis from Gedling Borough Council.
Right. Well, at this point, I put my other councillor hat on. Just a few things I just want to comment on. First of all, you may well be aware that the local government review, devolution, whatever you want to call it, is progressing, I would say, for this kind of process at pace. At the moment, the leaders and officers of the different authorities who are having to make decisions about where they want to go with regard to forming new unitary authorities have come up with 9 proposals. In terms of the effect on Gedling, well, we still don't know, but I think it's safe to say of the 9, 7 of them include some kind of, when you're looking at the sort of the conurbation boroughs, districts, around the city of Nottingham, 7 of them include some permutation of the area of the city and the area of and or Roxton, Gedling and Rushcliffe. Quite what we get at the end is another matter. I know that the management company is still working on refining those proposals. So I think we're going to end up, the government wants about 2 or 3 to be sent through. And that has to be achieved by the end of March. So sometime around then, we'll actually get to know what proposals, I imagine, are to be sent to government. And then we'll have a better idea of where things are going with that. Next week, Gedling Borough has full council meeting, and that will of course be live streamed. So if anyone is interested in that, by all means, it's on YouTube, go online, have a look. Planning. Couple of matters went through planning last time of interest, particularly to this area. One is something that I've actually been working on and had to declare a non-pecuniary interest, which is the trees backing onto areas of, from the park, onto areas of the parish. And I felt it was good news that those trees which are dangerously overhanging are going to be removed. And what the agriculturalist is saying is this will enable the other trees to develop and flourish more vigorously. They will be putting in replanting, but it won't be the kind of growth that will grow into massive trees.
Is that the 6 sycamores?
Yeah. Are they sycamores? Yes, they're sycamores. They are self-seeding, so they shouldn't have been there in the first
What was
place.
the peculiar interest?
Because I was lobbying because I wanted those trees removed. So it could be said that I was predetermined. So I mean, it's a debate, but I decided I would declare that, and I didn't actually participate in that debate. The other one is again the fire HQ, just up the road from myself, Councillor King. So the planning application to build a therapeutic and rehab centre on the site of the fire brigade HQ as was passed. The representative of the health company spoke to us about it, and what he's saying, and it is in the plan, is they are aiming at a fairly affluent clientele. People will self-refer and they will pay for themselves, and it will be people who are struggling with life issues, which could be a range of mental health through to addictions. I think it's likely to be an asset to the area. I would comment to Parish Council that because of the nature of this therapeutic centre, they will not be paying council tax, therefore there will be no additional precept. There will be no Section 106 money, and there will be no SIL money either from this development. Right, Community Kitchen is ongoing, doing well, lots of people coming along. It ran again today. I'd like to mention something which is happening in the village parish, but which is open to anybody here, which is we are developing a Kinsey orchard and garden, and we actually had our last gardening session last weekend. At the moment, we're trying to make good the land, dig out the bramble roots, so it's a bit of work, but you know, you start to see the progress. We've got successful bids into the Thatcher Cider Company for 10 trees, so they will go in once they arrive. We've got a litter pick this coming Saturday. So again, that's all been publicised if anybody's interested. There is a group called Litter Heroes, which is on.
So where's the litter pit, Rachel?
It's going to be Tithe Gardens. So we'll be meeting. We're going to ask what time now? I think 10:30.
I was going to ask, where is it publicised?
On my councillor page, on the community group, the St Albans community group. I think I put it on the Arnold group as well. Very happy, in fact I would be very pleased if the parish could publicise and promote these activities. It's all volunteer driven. Right, I mean, governance review is on the agenda, so you know I'm not going to address that. Except to say again, I'm sure that the parish will promote the consultation and getting people to fill it. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you. Since we haven't got Councillor Molby here, so I'll pass. We haven't got any representative from the Nottingham County Council, so I'll pass it open now to parish councillors. Councillor Gardner.
So things that have been happening in the community, another thing that's been coming up again and again is potholes. They're just getting, a lot of feedback I'm getting is that they're just getting worse. Like what started as a little one has now gotten rotted again and become even deeper. A resident said they actually, not in our parish, but actually got stuck in a pothole. That's how they described it. The wheel went in and they couldn't get the car out. That's how bad it's sort of getting. So just to say, reiterate to everyone, see it, report it. If they come and they get the white paint around it, they will sort it as a priority. As far as I'm aware, if it's any other colour, don't hold your breath. If I spoke to Via, then they're having some funding issues.
Is it white spray paint?
White is the immediate one, any other colour just...
Is there a definite size for the council?
Yes, so what happens is when you report it, an inspector comes out, has a look at it, and it has to be so deep and so wide for it to be classified as a danger. Not off the top of my head.
That's why, yeah.
If Rachel knows it off by heart,
Well, my understanding is 6 inches, but I'm not an
is
expert.
that like deep, wide?
I'm not.
6 inches is deep.
6 inches is deep.
Lovely, thank you.
If your car goes into a 6-inch pothole, you will know that.
Exactly.
Are we going to potholes more?
No, so I'm just going to swiftly move on.
I'll move that. Or do you want to speak about potholes? Councillor.
I'm pleased you raised it because I was going to suggest that as parish council, we should do a survey of the whole parish, take photographs and send them in to VIO direct and say, can we have a response? Have you got a timetable for any of these being dealt with? I think that you know of some that were going to be dealt with this year, don't you, that you were talking about. So I think residents are concerned about them, but I think if we can say, yes, we've followed it up, and these are the ones that are planned in the imminent future, and then where there are no plans, because that's keeping the residents informed, and it saves them having to keep reporting individual ones.
Now, for myself, I do, as sort of my local area, if anything comes up on my street or if on my drive home I see anything, I report them with my own sort of thing, because I hate to think of someone damaging the car. So I do report it, and as exactly what you said, if all the parish, everybody from the council, their local area report it, and then perhaps we can make a little spreadsheet to feed it back, and then perhaps we can go to VIO with that spreadsheet and go,
Yeah.
where is
I
it?
think with some photographic evidence might be useful, because some of the potholes aren't deep, but there's a lot of them in succession along the
And
road.
this is where we
I
need to
mean,
look
we
at the
just
criteria.
accidents and all sorts get damaged, don't we? So,
Yeah, this is the problem with the criteria limit, because it doesn't matter, you can have 100 in a line, but if none of them go below that threshold, if everyone's below that threshold, they just get ignored. The school on, is it Bestwood Lodge Drive? There's still, where they've resurfaced the road, there's still lines of where potholes were that they weren't able to do. Because it didn't.
Report that to the city.
Oh yeah, that is city. But I'm just saying, like, an instance like that didn't meet criteria, so it left.
Okay, thank you, councillor.
And then another one I want to bring is trees. At the weekend there was an overhanging tree, a branch that had come off and was halfway between a lamppost, a house and the road. So fortunately some of the community reported that. I saw it on the action group and I jumped out, phoned the police, tried to get the local PCSO, wrote a report, and at the end of the day we got VIO out and we managed to get a contractor out to remove the branch. But no one ever thinks to look up when you see all these debris on the floor, and it did go missed. So just if you see debris on the floor from a tree, look up and think what caused it and report it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor King?
Yes, very short. Toilet facility on the Bestwood Lodge car park has been removed with graffiti to a standard. All the observations that I raised at the last meeting are still outstanding. It would be nice if we could, as a parish council, contact Getting Borough Council Parks team, asking them that they are responsible for the entire Japanese garden area right up to Woodside Livery and not just the car park. They have done amazing work in the car park. They've cleared it up, they've cleaned it, done a really good job, but nothing still is happening from the Japanese garden area, and it's getting worse. There's fences all over the place, all over the paths. The leaves are not being cleared for nearly 2 years, and the green flag, it needs to be removed as well.
I can give you an update on that shortly.
Thank you. No further points.
Councillor Todd? No. Councillor?
Can I make a point about antisocial behaviour, please? Councillor West, I remember your Facebook post about people reporting antisocial issues. A lot of people that I spoke to on the doorstep don't really know how to report it to the Edinburgh Council or to the City Council. I was wondering, could we make it more advertised maybe on the parks? Could we, explain to people that they can report? If they see something, get it done straight away.
I know City have signs for that for antisocial behaviour.
we kind of promote this through parish meetings. There was last year, met with the wardens on Murfield, and we promoted stuff on Facebook. The bottom line is, it's encouraging people. I think the process is there. It's showing people how easy it is to actually report stuff on the app, on the Gedling Borough Council app. Certainly for fly tipping and everything like that, there's a 4-day turnaround, and they're really effective in doing that 4 days. The wardens do their preliminary inspection to see if there's any hazardous waste with a timeline of 4 days, and everything I've reported, certainly from my experience, has been fantastic. So, and I think it's that relationship between the parish council, the wardens, and the park stream.
Thank you. Human races. Muirfield Park. When I checked in with our officers because of the issue around CCTV, and that's very recently, what I have been told is that Muirfield Park rarely crosses their radar. And that's the same for the police, which is your point, that there are virtually no reports of antisocial behaviour, either to Gedling or to the police. Now, on the other hand, when I'm on the doorstep talking to people, they are concerned when people say they're not feeling safe. So, I think there is a sort of a shortfall between how people feel and whether they feel empowered to do something about it. Because you see, I go and rattle the cage and say, what about this CCTV? And officers, quite reasonably, will say, but they don't meet, it doesn't meet the criteria. This is a nice, quiet park as far as we're concerned.
I think we must have spoken to the same people on the doorstep, because I got pretty much the same response. I mean, I was on the Muirfield Park the other day, there was beer cans everywhere, so I just can't believe people don't report it in.
We do.
And, you know, Councillor Colson.
I think the issue is that people took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and they were reporting regularly, and they were assured that we were going to get the CCTV. The money was set aside for the CCTV. This goes back to 22, and then it was delayed, and then we were told, well, you're not getting it now because it doesn't meet the criteria. So people have put all the effort in to reporting regularly, given a promise. The promise has now been broken, and I think people think, well, it's a waste of time doing it. So I think they're disheartened by it.
I get that point.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help, you know, in terms of making the case.
But they've made the case was accepted, the money was allocated. That should have been the end of the story, and then we'd have had the CCTV on Muirfield Park, and it wouldn't be necessary to be doing individual recording all the time, would it?
Well, I think perhaps we can have a conversation outside
Yeah.
of this one.
I think you're quite right. I sort of put my nose into the CCTVs. I've seen it on social media, and the parish council have never been involved in this. However, I saw some grant money allocated from some pot, and I imagine it wasn't just that money on its own, it was £14,000, and way within our budget. So I went and made, you know, you hear all the different stories over the years, and so we went to Gedling Borough Council, and they came back, the people who look at this in relation with the police, and as we, the bottom line is, they've reviewed it, and there's, you know, miraculously the crime's gone, and the police will give the stock answer of we put some resources in and took some action, whatever that was, but obviously all this crime, and it's, as we know, and the police will agree with us, it's the fact that you can write a report and you can big up the crime or you can bring it down depending on what your stats are. And that's the bottom
The
line.
report didn't even include the assault where a young man nearly got his fingers chopped off. They were hanging by threads. That wasn't in the Gedling report at all. So
there anything else, Councillor?
No, I thought.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Ellis, have you covered in your...
I think I'm quite well with
Okay,
this.
thank you. Councillor Swanson?
No, that's enough.
Councillor Noel?
Yes, so we should start by welcoming our new councillors. It's very important they stood for election because there is a thing called the general power of competency that does require that at least 2/3 of the councillors are elected. Councillors that are co-opted doesn't count towards these criteria, so will be have been excluded from this criteria. Regretfully, we also need the clerk that is certified, but I'm sure our clerk as soon as it is possible will get certified. Now, general power of competence is very important because it won't allow this council to do things that at the moment we can. So, for example, provided we have the money, we could fill potholes, we could put CCTV, we could put a lot of things that at the moment we can't because are outside our competency, but with the general power of competence, my understanding is that we could. Now, speaking of the antisocial behaviour that has been reported here, I remember that the police constable was there, because I've been a councillor here a long time, and it was regularly attended, at least 3 times a year, I think. And in the last 2 years, we haven't had, at least 2 years, I think, a bit more, we haven't had anybody attending, and I keep asking the clerk to do an invitation. I don't know if the invitation actually went through. Of course, it's the first time I'm asking it. So I think it would be probably a good idea to, because what they used to want to come to the parish councils exactly for connecting with parish councils, and of course the parish council wanted to talk with the police constable about all these issues. So I don't know if it's a police decision or if our invitation got lost or didn't get applied to the right people or whatever. So maybe that would be a good idea to try to contact the police and say, can you please come for next meetings?
Yes, I can give them an invite, yeah.
Okay.
And they do send us a report, which
Yes.
we have forwarded on, so.
But having a direct conversation, I remember it was quite interesting and quite fruitful.
Yes.
Yeah. Councillor Tom?
Yeah, could I just say that this item comes up quite regularly around the House Police, and we did talk at one stage of inviting them to our meeting, but that's never developed, has it?
Exactly, that's my point. I don't know what happens. Did we invite them? Yes.
I'll issue an invite and see whether we get any response.
Or at least they can tell us why they can't.
Would that be on 62925 to receive reports on what would be in that section?
Okay, thank you. So, any updates really from staff? Councillor?
Sorry, I do apologise. I want to update something I said earlier. I wasn't quite sure of the time we'd set, and it is in fact 3 p.m. Saturday, 1st of March.
What's that for?
This week.
So, in terms of updates, as the resident of attended the Westwood Country Park Development Group meeting. I'm aware of the group meetings, it's run for many years, run by Nottingham County Council. But one of the kind of issues we have is the Gedling side of the Westwood Country Park that seemed to be forgotten and is in a poor state. So the idea was I prepared a report and I thought I'll go to that meeting and hopefully Colin, whoever makes the decisions at Gedling Borough Council, and talk through what the concerns are, because again residents see stuff, they report it, and then they don't see any action. There is a caveat to that, because we do have a good response from the wardens when we report stuff. We have built a relationship with the local beat team. We are reporting stuff to the police, so the antisocial behaviour around the toilet block in the country park, I think that was run by residents and resolved by residents, and eventually the police got involved because the evidence was mounted. But not to say we would ask residents to take on their matters, but it's just the nature and the dynamic nature of that issue we were able to resolve. But in terms of the country park, for the benefit of parishioners, we have the toilet block, as you can see, covered in graffiti. That's since it's been closed, it's obviously a target, isn't it? Because it's not getting used and people think it's derelict. The street signs are damaged. We have bridle paths, so basically located at the just up from Westwood Lodge car park. The entrance was clear, but all the debris from the trees that have fallen are all in the hedgerow. And when you get close, you'll see it's all debris rather than a nice hedgerow. The entrance signs are damaged due to the extreme weather, and they become uprooted and tend to then do the journey as people move them around the park. The tree fell in Lodge Gardens, so you've got pedestrian footpaths are blocked with fallen trees. Trees are fallen within the woods leading onto boundary fences. The fences are in a poor state anyway. We've got trees felled in other areas of the bridle path located near the Rangers workshop leading back to the old fire station. The roads deteriorated over time, accessibility and risk. And it is interesting because that's the road leading up to the horse. So anyone who's got horses and go down that road, I've got an update on that as well. The three parts. So, and the county councils, they only have to offer like one entrance. And again, it's again residents at this meeting, Nigel Lynn brought up the issue. Says we're not going to go 7 miles around the other end of the country park to get access to come up to this side because that road's deteriorated. And I know he's been championing that road for many years. And there is an update on that. It's going to be repaired over 3 parts. Gedling Park, a mixture of Gedling and County Council, and the County Council and residents.
Slight update on that.
Go on then, you can clarify that bit.
The current situation is that Gedling have accepted that they are willing to repair. It's essentially 2/3.
Right.
Okay, and you'll be aware because you were at the meeting that the county council, thanks to the good offices of Councillor Barnfather, have agreed that they will stand the cost of the final third. And I think Mr. Lim is talking about working with fellow residents to perhaps do
They're paying a quarter, so
bit
yeah,
by
the
their
county about
So that's the side, yes. So it's been put out to tender. I mean, Gedling has put it out to tender, so this will happen.
yeah. So that's really good news for people who use the area. You know, I talked to, tongue in cheek that you could lose a small dog in some of these potholes. But it's literally small cars. You can leave, and it looks, the day I took a picture, it's all nice and dry, so it looks okay. It's when it's full of water. So, disappointed. Gedling are inviting the head of environmental services at Gedling. They've had a reshuffle, so everyone's been shuffled down a grade and around. So, unfortunately, there's still the same people, but with different hats on. But they've not attended the last 2 or 3 I picked up of these development plots. And what there is, in the Nottingham County Council department, it's well represented by rangers, staff, and the country park, friends of Westwood Country Park. So this is what I talked about last year, when residents get organised, they start to get things done. But basically, he's asked one of the staff members, the car park, the high barrier was open, so it got swept out. That was following some updates of the litter picking folks done at Christmas. But we've shut the barrier, but we've got no padlock, so it's unlocked at the moment. So this is a second attempt, but they're going to go and make sure that's locked. There's more fire extinguishers appeared in the car park. We don't know whether they're being stolen from the hotel or the fire brigade, but they keep appearing. So they're going to remove that. He said the graffiti should now be removed unless we had another attack. And in the meantime, the car park's been swept. Any rough sleepers need reported to public protection. The roadway owned by Gedling Borough Council running up to Corns Hill has become potholed and will be repaired shortly. But this only includes the Gedling Borough Council owned stretch, not the unadopted section next to Corns Hill. He's then tasked on to remove the green flag. So it's finally coming down. Unfortunately, it's lost its green flag, and it's kind of, you know, rather a political thing, I think.
I think, I don't know whether it's Gedling or whether it's
Gedling.
county or whether it's a combination of both, but when Gedling ran the pub on behalf of the county, they applied on an annual basis for the green flag. I don't quite understand why, it might be a cost, who knows, but they didn't apply for the green flag last time around, so obviously they haven't got it because it wasn't applied for.
I actually don't think they realise they still maintain the rest of that area.
Well, they do.
I don't think they do, because when I reported an issue with fly tipping, they said that's not their responsibility. It's not in the county council.
It depends which part.
Well,
I have actually asked for
But
their map of the bit that is theirs.
I don't think anyone in this room is disputing what is Gedling Borough Council responsibility or not. I'm just telling you from a factual position, when I reported an issue, the response is they don't manage it.
Well, I mean, I think...
Can I ask you then, if you're not getting satisfaction?
It's
You
not
see-
me.
Oh, well,
The whole area.
if I don't know about this.
Councillors, can I just say,
Yeah.
if we listen to my update, all these issues have been resolved. I'm not saying they're going to get done tonight, but they've asked for the green flag to be removed from the flagpole at Westwood Country Park. They've also asked a member of staff and all the contractors to repair the Lodge Gardens timber sign shown on the photo and placed another grey post on the speed hump. They've also had a look at the damaged gates shown on the PowerPoint. Again, they're looking at repairing them. So they've asked a tree officer to go and look at the tree felling and the maintenance issue that I've mentioned, the driveways and the pedestrian footpaths blocked by fallen trees, and trees that have fallen within the woods leaning onto the boundary fences. Also the tree felled and blocking access to the footpath private way near Gaunt's Hill. So there is, in writing, some commitment to resolving this, and I think one of the concerns of residents was it was just the level of deterioration that gets to a point where it's not just normal daily husbandry, is it? So hopefully that's what I'm saying.
It's good news.
Yes.
Was anything mentioned at the meeting about changes to the designation of Country Park? A resident who's actually a city resident that uses the Country Park said that there's a consultation now where they're looking to redesignate Westwood Country Park as an open green space rather than a country park.
Oh, I don't know.
And I said, I don't know, I've not heard anything.
There's a boundary thing in there. There was that consultation for adopting the bridle way and footpaths. I don't know if that's the
No,
same
I think
thing.
this is something different. She said because it will affect because they've already reduced the rangers' input into
Oh,
the
geez,
country park,
yeah.
haven't they? And she was indicating that they would all be removed from the country park, so there wouldn't be any rangers. And with the expectation that there'd be more active volunteers within the country park, and I said, well, I don't think that's I've not heard anything about it.
I think what the
Yes,
motivation,
it's county rather than Gedling that's doing it.
my motivation for doing things like this is the councils and any councils across the country seem to rely on taking money off us and expecting volunteers to do the work. And so the point I'm kind of making is, as a parish council, I think it is our duty to challenge Gedling Borough Council over their provision of maintenance.
It's county council.
And the county council.
Well, it's not Gedling, is it? You don't do the maintenance of the country park.
The country
Gedling.
parks, Gedling,
That's
No,
the
the
issue.
country park belongs to the county
it
council.
doesn't.
It's the.
Well, it's joint,
Right.
but it's a small portion that
I think it's-
it belongs to.
That's the better care about, that's what's in our parish.
The parish area, that country park, this is where I have an issue with, because if Gedling Borough Councils aren't recognising that is Gedling Borough Council's responsibility to maintain, the fact is we're dwarfed by the county council owning most of it, and the fact is they're very active, and what we're not seeing is any activity in Gedling. This is what I think I'm challenging.
And you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Anything up to one side of the Bury and around the hotel East Garden, and everything to the right of behind the car park is all Edinburgh Council responsibility.
And this is why this work has gone to Edinburgh Council, as we've met with support from Edinburgh Council, because they're responsible. So that's my update on the park. In terms of the fire brigade then, quite a lot of work was done for residents. It was brought to the parish council at the last meeting because there was work done with residents and the developer, meetings with associations, residents living in, who are most affected, who live opposite the fire station, so we have the most concern. What the developer didn't want was a public meeting, because we'd end up with people asking about potholes and stuff like that, and the state of the country park. So he got a small group of people in, representing the community. From the work at attending the Friends of Bessel Country Park, there were some comments made by the Nature and Wildlife Committee member around the planting schemes that often come with developments, and they're not ordinarily supportive of wildlife or biodiversity, and that's way outside of my understanding. But I think the point I'm making is we've got lots of people who've got knowledge or understanding or interest, and it's pulling them people in. From the last meeting, I drafted the response to the planning committee that the clerk submitted, and that was proceed. And if anyone knows me, it needs proceed. But that's not bad, 2.5 pages. I think I was to get it to half a page, but the reality is there was some work, and what I said to people was it's a fantastic collaboration between residents, representing residents and achieving a positive outcome. The 3 key areas were championed following contributions from posts from social media, emails from residents and association and tenants associations to specific issues. And you're quite right, it was the fact that I knew it became warmly accepted at the parish was about jobs. So that's jobs for at different skill levels that will come our way. Local, basically talk about local collaboration, and this is where locals working together can achieve quite a lot. And when you've got that information then presented to the planning committee, it's very difficult, if not for the councillors actually to get on board and support a positive outcome. So it was a positive outcome for the community. So that's that. So thank you for the parish council. I think that's quite a big achievement to support that. And that's all I've got really. There's usual fly tips that are reported, not a big issue, but again, reaffirming that you can go on the app, it takes all a few seconds, and the tip's gone. So that's the updates. Councillors, any observations? No? Brilliant. Clark,
Just a couple of things then. I've contacted David Reed, the watering contract, accepting the quote and asking for further contact details from him, but I haven't had a response. I've also done the same with the contract for the benches. I sent him an email with the requirements that he needed to satisfy Edinburgh Council, the Council of White have provided. I phoned him yesterday just to request an update, but I haven't had anything back from him. So I'm presuming that's gone ahead, but I will chase that. The Scribe account, which is the software that keeps our records for finances separate to the bank, so it provides us with, once you input all of the payments, all of the income, where those payments have been made, how they've been allocated, that it creates quite a lot of reports for you. So that's all up to date now and balanced off. As per my contract, it was required that I could keep the ILCA and the FILCA within a 6-month period. So I'm pleased to say that both of those have been completed and passed, and I've sent the certificates both to Councillor Larry and to Councillor White. So that has been done within my 6-month contract. A couple of things. There is a Gathering Big Spring Clean happening on Friday the 21st of March until Sunday the 30th of March. It's one of these Keep Britain Tidy, encouraging community partners to get involved with litter picks. So if you want to organise something that sits within that big Gathering Spring Clean, that will be a useful thing. I will send the information out to you separately, so that you have that by email. And then the other one was the E-Day 8 celebrations. I'll put this on the agenda for March, so that it can be discussed in a bit more detail, but as it's already been highlighted earlier on, I just wanted to make sure it was on our agenda. So that's everything from me. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
I'd just like to say on behalf of council, well done for completing them 2 courses in record time. And I know there's the next course, but you say that you're not allowed to do it?
No, the Silka, which is the one that will give us the general powers competence, excuse me, I need to be a clerk for a year before I can subscribe to it, and you have to pay up front, so I've actually tried to put my information into it, but they won't let me. So obviously I've done the qualifications that were a part of the contract, so that's done. And as soon as I can get onto the Silka qualification, I'll do it. But it will take up to a year to get that done, dependent on obviously how much time I can set aside. And obviously the thing to bear in mind is I'm only contracted for 7 hours a week here, and if you do the Silka, you are actually entitled to take time out of those 7 hours a week. I wouldn't, but I am entitled to do that. So I've obviously got to manage my time when I do that I can complete it within a year, because you have to do the exam within a year of actually subscribing onto it. So I'll make sure I can set the time aside to do that.
Okay, thank you for that. So on terms of the finance, we've got to approve the payments for the payment list, and the second part is to consider transferring funds from reserves to the current account to pay the invoices for the elections. So there's 2 issues there. I will hand over the meeting to Councillor Todd as Vice Chair in terms of item A, as I can sit and listen. No, I've got to leave. Don't
Only for the one that you are.
Yeah,
It's only for the last one.
Yeah, it's only the last one, and you don't.
So
Well, next to last, isn't
Is
it?
it 20 quid?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, why don't you just go out and just sort that out?
well, if you at 3 minutes past 8, then I have the meeting over to Councillor Todd to chair. It's not very strange, but it is a rule.
Do you want to?
Yeah, so you all had a copy of the Parish Council payment sheets. And the one I'm looking at that the chairman's gone out is a payment of £20 for printing. So has anybody got any views about the cost?
I propose payment of £20 towards share for printing.
But it's not only the 20, we have to discuss all of the costs. So if anybody has got anything to say about
It's not all of it, it's share.
it's 1,000 costs, yeah, but we have to discuss all of them. Because the item is discussion of it, it's just one item, it's not separate item.
But you only have to go out for the one that he's getting payment for, right?
No, but no, it's the whole
Right.
of
So you can't vote for anything.
Well, we can vote for this lot, I think,
No,
straight
no.
away.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have a query which I'm sure could be resolved. I recall that this council paid for a domain name and reimbursed Council Reed because she, and it's in minutes somewhere,
explains that.
I thought there was an explanation.
I also, when I think Councillor Brewery was the chair at the time, and I asked at the time what happened to the payment that we made for the previous listing and the previous domain, and I don't think I got an answer.
So I'm sorry if you want a technical answer. So we did pay for sanalbans.pc.org. This domain is the property of St Albans Parish Council.
Yes.
It was needed because otherwise we would have been without a website since the end of August. And of course, since you paid 1 year of domain, we are paid till next August.
Yeah.
Now, this payment here is for the government.uk
Got it.
domain. That is the new one that we got for the, so that is going to be a new domain, and we are going to move, hopefully, once we approve this one, we are going to move into this new domain, and everybody will get an email. I can't remember the name of the last one.
And then once this is
San Albans,
set
no,
up,
the domain San Albans or something.
Thank you.
.uk. And
I'm
regretfully, we are a little
yeah,
period
I accept that is worth,
superimposition.
yeah, it's worth it, and therefore I'm happy.
Right, now we'll go back to what I was talking about. The payment to David White for printing of £20.
Yeah, but unless there is anybody that has an objection, I think there is we need to do the whole lot.
yeah, we approved
Is
the
a
whole
lot.
sheet and then they can come back. Like that's how I wanted to.
Just read it. Just read it.
Harking back to when I was last on Parish Council, is there not an amount which a chair is entitled
Yes.
to spend anyway?
Yes.
I thought so. So it's
£200.
not a shame.
Just read more. Right, I'm going to read them all out and then we can take it from there. Rona Holloway, the clerk for fees for December, £425.63. Freethought, domain name hosting, £129.17 plus VAT. ICO, DDGDPR, £552. PKF, external audit, £290 plus £58 VAT. David White, chairman's cost for printing, £20. Clerk's admin costs, paper, printer ink, December, February, £20. They're all the items that we've
No.
got.
May I just make a small adjustment? I don't know, I must have had a bad day. The clerk fees are for February
What's that all add up to?
It's going to change.
rather than December, yeah, so it's
Makes sense.
I
February.
was going to actually after the meeting, I'll be paying you like 2 months in arrears or.
This is not good.
It was obviously on the last one and
What's he just going to check?
February.
Okay, so you're now compared.
I propose with that alteration.
thank you.
All in favour?
Right, could I ask two members to sign each individual invoice and front please?
So it's 9 minutes past 8. Are we on to part B then?
Yes.
So in terms of to consider transferring funds from reserves to current account to pay for invoices for the elections, I'll pass it out really to councillors, see if they've got a view on this. Councillor Harding?
Yes, because I've been here several years and we have had several elections, and can you remember David Government invoiced us anything? My ask what is the legitimacy of that if there is exactly can.
Yes, if the election is called by the parish, then the parish bears the cost. The earlier election was a shared cost because there were also an election for the district councillor, borough councillor. So they told me it would be a shared cost. So that would be £3,000, but they want this time the parish bears the full cost, and they told me it would be £6,000. So I'm expecting it before the end of this financial year.
How big they come to this cost?
That I couldn't tell you.
That's something to
Well,
I think, because
there's obviously
I'm
sorry.
well, yes, but they could have said 20,000, 30,000. Is that the actual cost? I think
It's done by
yeah,
the
I
council.
I'd like to see a copy of what
Exactly.
£9,000.
Well, it's not come here
It's
anyway.
going to pay all.
yes, but we are not going to pay the invoice for £6,000 election cost. I want to see
Yeah.
all of the more. I want to see all of the
I have a little bit of knowledge on the subject. So, doing some research a couple of years ago, Kevin should give us a breakdown. So it comes down to the staff, the monitoring officer, whoever controls this. It goes this form basically then went into the detail of the office staff of democracy who then have to handle all the paperwork, and so it's broken down and it has an hourly rate. So you will get that. Councillor.
Doesn't it also include the ballot papers?
Yeah,
Because
everything,
I
yeah.
understand that on occasions parish councils say they don't want ballot papers sending out. I don't know whether they were this time. Some residents said they didn't receive ballot papers. I know the postal votes ones.
They did ask me if we wanted to do it, if we wanted them to do it, and I automatically said we want you to do it.
Right.
So
Yeah, so
that's
but
just
some people said they didn't get it. The other thing on this issue, for a number of years, the parish council was setting aside each year an amount of money for future elections. So isn't that money already in?
I think, like everything, we budget for it. Doesn't mean we've spent it. And then at the end of the year, you come out with a breakdown of what we've actually paid. So we have budgeted each year. It doesn't mean we've stacked and saved the money. We just physically on paper said, oh, we'll have £4,000 for elections and budget for it. If there's no election at the end of the year, we start again the next financial year when we plan our budgets again.
But if it was budgeted for over a
Yeah.
number of years, what's the total amount that has been budgeted for?
I believe last year the budget was £4,000.
No, but it's been done over a number of years, and we've not had elections each.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean when we're budgeting, it's kind of a fluid process. We don't spend the money; it just goes back into the coffers.
Yeah, but it sits against a line, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So year on year, it should have been getting bigger. And
it does. It's done at the end of each year. That year is then signed off and finished, and we start again. Obviously, there are reserves. There's a significant amount of reserves, but they aren't specifically allocated in that way. If we had a project, if the council had a project and money had been raised for that project, that would be ring-fenced. But for an election, it's not ring-fenced, it's sat in reserves, and that's why I'm asking for some money to come from reserves into the current account, because we will run out of money. It's there, so it's in reserves, and I'm just asking that the council agree for us to transfer it across to the current account.
Councillor?
To me, that doesn't make any sense having different prices if it's taking place at a borough council election. If the parish council takes place at a borough council election, it makes it cheaper. That really doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think it will make any sense to.
So my understanding is that they have to pay for all the counters and all the people to adjudicate everything, and if they're already spent on the borough, then we should bear the
It's a sharing cost.
Unfortunately, that's the case. I think getting back to the agenda item, it would be my view, so as a councillor, I would be against taking money out of reserves. At the moment, we have money in the current account. Over time, we've been putting money into the reserves, into a savings account, if you like. In April, we're due to receive £30,000 or thereabouts from Kent Borough Council. And therefore, by the time this invoice comes in, the breakdown, we will have sufficient money, bearing in mind the elephant in the room is the potential split at the end of the year. So I think the money should come out. That's my view. Over to Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, thank you. I'm hearing our clerk asking for a transfer of funds in order that she can pay these invoices which you've got now.
Yeah, no, I haven't got them. So at the minute, we've got, in the current account, we've got £9,270.
Right.
We've got some invoices coming out. We've got £1,000 that we've just done tonight, which would bring our balance down to 8,000. We've got invoices coming in end of March. And if we get a £9,000 bill from Edinburgh Council, there won't be sufficient funds in there, so I'm asking for a transfer.
Yeah, I understand that, but I totally disagree with that, because with the saving account, we set account, the water code, is instant access. So we don't have to give notice to them 30 days, 90 days in advance. And I really don't want to pay an invoice from the Edinburgh Council before the invoice has been circulated in front of the council and voted on by the council. So if they send an invoice tomorrow, I don't care. I'm not going to pay it. I don't want to give authority to anyone to pay it before next council. And
I've
next
I've really
council
back to
can do
March
it.
then.
Yeah.
So if we need, exactly, if we need to give authority, there is no point in transferring the money now,
I think
because there is an authority that needs to be given.
if we get to the bottom line, what the clerk's saying, we don't want to be in a position where our bank's empty
No.
and she gets hit with an invoice or the day business. Do you think it's acceptable to bring this back next month?
Well, I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do.
Are we going to run out of money before
No.
March?
It was only really, it was a case of I either do it this month and we transfer it when we need to transfer it, but I've got agreement to transfer it, or I bring it back in March, the end of March, then that's absolutely fine.
I mean, my point really was that the invoice when it arrives, hopefully it times when we get this year's budget for Gedlin and the money comes out of that.
No, it won't. It's got to come out of this financial year.
It's got to take out this financial, okay. Fair enough.
Well, we can't pay it until we agree, can we?
Exactly, that's my point. So there's no.
What do we say?
Councillor
Chair, it appears to me, both arguments have merit. Okay? We've got to agree to pay the invoice, which is your point, but I would like, it seems to me, it has to be paid in this financial year, and therefore at some point it will have to come out of the reserves. And so I would like to move that we agree in principle, subject to the approval of the invoices.
That's reasonable. As long as we don't transfer it, because we lose interest when we transfer it.
I accept that.
So you propose that?
I propose that.
Can I have someone to second that? Councillor Swanson. Those in favour?
Sorry, how much are we proposing?
£6,000.
Okay, those in favour? Those against? Councillor, that's really gone. That's it. Thank you very much, councillors. So, item 633, to review the AGAR received from KPF, which is our external auditors, dated 17th of February, so I'll hand this bit to the clerk.
Yes, I've been chasing the external auditors for the AGAR because it's extremely outstanding. And it finally came through on the 17th of February. I've circulated it to everybody. There were just a couple of items on it really that the previous clerk didn't sign, and I think that's probably to do with the fact that she wasn't here.
So, so in terms of the AGAR, what they agreed, KPF, was for me to sign it and minutes, when the minutes, so it's item 529, when the council agreed the AGAR, if that makes sense. So we basically followed and got through it. Yeah, well done.
At least we've got it in its order and just
And to be fair to the KPF and to Parish Council, we weren't the only ones that were, and hence the reason they're coming back to us now is they had a whole raft of Parish Councils to work through. So the good news is we're probably going to start the new AGAR next month.
So just quickly, our consent payments carry 2 signatures.
Thank you, Councillor.
sign all the group.
You sign each individual document.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so are we happy with that, right?
Just need to propose and second it, it's been received and
Okay,
accepted.
I propose that we've received the AGAR and, one second then. Councillor King, all in favour? Everyone's in favour. To determine the date of the annual meeting,
It's the internal audit.
or the internal,
So,
yes,
yeah.
internal audit.
Been in touch with our internal auditor, David Dixon, who did our internal audit last year, just to ask him whether he would be willing to do the internal audit this year. He's said he would he'd be willing to do that. The cost would be £85. He did say that he would need written confirmation this time. And he also he said that he would no longer be able to help with the AGAR, as he did last year. So he will do the internal audit only, but not the AGAR. So we'll have to which we never expected it anyway. I just wanted to bring that on to say, whether we're happy with me instructing David Dixon to do our internal audit.
Councillor King's proposing we go with David Dixon again. Councillor Rachel Ellis seconds. All in favour? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so have you got them? The clerk will clarify, but to determine the date of the annual meeting of the council. So pretty important, this is a window in May where we must hold an annual meeting of the parish and an annual meeting of the council. The two separate meetings, ideally they run one and then we move them into the next one.
Yeah. So yes, the annual parish meeting is for the electors of the parish to come and question council and to hear what projects and plans the council have going forward and what they've done for the previous year. And there is a window between the 1st of March and the 1st of June that we need to organise those. And then there is the annual parish meeting and the usual and the normal meeting. So sometimes they will all run together, sometimes they will run separately. So it's for the council to decide how you want that to run and what dates you want to actually have that. So I'll need to book the room as part of that.
If I'm right, do we normally have it in May? We always sort of had it in May.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar. Yeah. I'd like to propose it's done on the same evening, but bring the meeting earlier by half an hour.
So it's any time after 6 o'clock you can
Yeah.
have it. So
Yeah, that's well, 6:30.
Sounds good to me.
and do you want them all three done on the same evening? So that's the annual parish meeting, that's the one where the residents come, and then the annual meeting of the parish council, which is when the chair, the vice chair are elected, and then you have the standard evening meeting, parish meeting, or water.
That's why you have only 2 agenda items on that meeting.
So do you want that to be on this?
Councillor?
The annual parish meeting isn't a council meeting, it's a meeting of the parishioners, so it doesn't even have to be chaired by a councillor. And we've not been very good in this parish at engaging with the public. Having been part of parish meetings with Bestwood St Albans, they looked at it differently and they had interested groups, so community groups, the church groups, who came and said what they were doing and what they would like to see happening in the parish. And I think there's been lots said about people being apathetic or not interested, or some people still don't know that we've got a parish. So perhaps we should look at dealing with it separately. And also, NALC guidance is that the annual parish meeting and the annual parish council meeting should held on separate days. And if you look at the Good Councillors Guide, it actually says that in there, and it says they are the only 2 meetings in the year that the parish council is required by law to have. And we didn't have a parish meeting last year at all, and the year before I think it was quarter of an hour on the field or something like that. So I think there's an opportunity there to get people more engaged with the parish council, and also to be able to say to the parish council, we've got ideas of what we would like to happen, and to feed that into the parish council.
I think it's might be helpful if the clerk was to get some clarity on about guidance, was my understanding, having read into it last year, you can have them on the same evening.
You can, because
But
they
it's
are
not
local
recommended.
bodies.
Councillors?
If you could ask us to the council down, I can deal with the council down.
So, well, I think it's a proposal. I know last year I spoke to the clerk and she was giving, I shared that with councillors, the advice, and unfortunately the demise of the clerk last year. And I think when we reference the sort of previous how meetings are, I think we are on our ninth clerk, which would, you know, highlight what the issue is within the parish council, why we haven't had as well structured or attended meetings. I suppose that's again the big elephant in the room that will be on the agenda later. But my understanding from the response I got from now last year, we can have them on the same evening. So I'll put it out to the councillors to I would propose agree a date or go for 2 separate dates.
If I understand correctly, the annual meeting of the parish should be held between the 1st of March and the 1st of June. So we don't, because my concern about having multiple meetings is that in May, we already have the ordinary meeting at the end of May, and we can't really have the annual general meeting at the end of May, because in case there is a problem, in order that time to recall it, so it must be at the beginning of May. And then if we have also the annual parish meeting, we have 3 meetings in May, can we have the annual parish meeting in March or April?
You can have it between the 1st of March and the 1st of June.
You might be better doing it in the summer. It might get more of a high turnout if you did it towards the end. Is it the 1st of, say, the 1st of March?
1st to the 1st of June.
Yeah, but if we have it in May, then we have 3 meetings in May.
Well, the other 2 can be run together. I mean, technically all 3 can.
Okay,
If I know how local one does.
Okay, yeah, we can run at the end of May, but my concern about end of May is if for any reason the hall is closed, whatever the reason is, there isn't something typical now, I don't know.
I've booked the hall for the whole of this year, so all of our dates, our standard dates are booked for here. The only one
So
that
you would
isn't
say that
booked,
you say which day of, because it's the last Tuesday.
that's Tuesday of the month. The only one that isn't, I would need to book extra would be if you wanted to have that annual meeting.
So you already suggested the annual general meeting of the parish on the 28th of May, whatever it is.
So the one, the annual parish council meeting can be done on the same day, same evening as your standard meeting.
So, I propose then, just to move forward, that we have all 3 in one day. We're not going to vote on when, just to see if the council has agreed that we will have it on one day or not. So that's my proposal.
Okay, and what dates will they be then?
And we're not setting the date, it's just to see if everyone is for having all 3 in one day first.
Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, if that's where we're going with this, can I propose that we restrict agenda items for the ordinary meeting to urgent matters only?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that there is enough time for preparation.
Yeah, because the was coming overrun.
I think we've got to all anyway. Many of the agendas are very short anyway. You appoint the chairman, appoint the deputy chairman, and then you move on to the other business. Yeah, so are we looking at having this in May? Because we've got the ordinary meeting on 27th of May, and the Tuesday the 13th of May is mid-month, is that what you're saying?
Well, we would to run all three together on the
Yeah.
same thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
Well, that's
true.
what I've got.
Are we proposing May then? Because May the 27th is a meeting already planned.
Well, are we having a vote on having three in the same day, because I oppose it.
Okay.
I
So
think
I'll
we need the
propose
parish
it for
meeting,
our
the annual parish meeting needs to be given adequate amount of time, and it's always been squashed out.
Oh, okay.
And probably doesn't even need the clerk as the parish meeting.
I won't be there, no.
No, you don't
So,
need
so it
to.
can be any day, it's not
Yeah.
dependent on the clerk.
So proposal for councillors is to split the three meetings. Councillor second that.
I'll second.
Yeah,
Split
two.
one meeting off.
Yeah. So you have two
Two
dates.
council meetings,
Two dates.
together.
So we basically want 2 dates, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay. So who can second that, please?
I'll second that.
Councillor. All in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those against? Councillor Todd. And then proposal from Councillor what was your proposal?
We have all three on there.
Okay, and Councillor.
I want to move forward to me as an arbitrary matter and let's just move
Okay,
forward.
so Councillor Gardner, Councillor second that. Councillor Todd. All in favour? Councillor Todd and Councillor Gardner.
Having them on the same.
Those against?
In favour of speaking.
Those against? Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
I'm in favour of anything that moves it forward.
Okay, Councillor.
You can be in favour of both.
Consider, so item 636, I'm conscious of time, folks. To consider and agree any new members to set the staffing committee. So staffing committee has been formed currently, Councillor King, Councillor Jones.
Sorry, Chair. Do we have a date for the annual parish meeting?
Oh,
Yeah, exactly, sorry, I think the term is the date, okay, I'm splitting them, what is the date, so the term is the date,
so the dates we've got, if you want to know the 2 dates in May, we've got the church booked on the 27th and we've got the Tuesday the 13th for the annual meeting of the parish. 13th of May?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll get that booked
So
then.
14th of May is the council, the parish, and the council is as scheduled as the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll be the PGM.
Chairman, okay, so the staffing committee currently is Councillors Lowry, Councillor King, Councillor Jones is on this staffing committee to consider and agree any new members who wish to sit on the staffing committee. So has any councillors got any
There are
interest?
two vacancies, we have 5 members,
Pardon?
We have to join.
there are 5 members, so we can only do 2.
Okay, Councillor Jabolska?
No, I want to propose Councillor Ellis, Councillor Bolby.
Okay. Does anyone want to second that or?
I was saying,
Yeah, Councillor King, second that, all in favour? Anyone against? Councillor Gardner, is there any other proposals?
Well, I propose myself back, I can roll over.
Oh, are you on the staffing committee?
Well, now I have to go on it and then suddenly somebody went, oh, this, then I straight over that.
I don't think we'll have much problems with staffing committee, we've only got one. Well, thank you for your offer, Councillor.
as we don't have currently a chairman of the staffing committee.
You can decide that on your first
You
meeting.
do that at the meeting, don't you?
Yes, but the date of the meeting should be decided here or because technically there is nobody to call.
I think you just do the meeting and then call it, isn't it?
It's just technicality, really,
Okay,
because if we should decide here.
They'll be going about it.
I'm sure,
No, we need once for the chairman.
so the next meeting of the parish council is in March, maybe on Tuesday, at the end of the month, and I'm sure the clerk can, if you want a staffing committee, if you notify the clerk will summons you all to it, and then you can then vote in who your chairman is.
They were meeting, weren't they, just
Yeah, half an hour.
Half an hour before, we can do the March, half an hour before.
Well, that makes sense, half an hour before the next parish council meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we can even decide between the leaders, so that's fine.
asset register, item 637, to discuss the current asset register, update any fresh information, and agree who will carry out the yearly assessment. So, have we seen the asset register?
Well, I'm presuming you've all had an asset
No,
register.
so what I propose then, because I thought this would come up, the accountant who, the local clerk, who dealt with the stuff in between the clerk, the two clerks there, he will have, as part of the AWAL of the asset register. So all the purchases that the local clerk's done, our last clerk and our current clerk, will all go in the asset register. And I can confidently say that any purchases over the last year or so have gone on that asset register system.
I downloaded that one off the Scribe. So really it was a case of if somebody could take that away, check what's on it, that it's right.
Yeah.
And
We did have
Yeah, there is a spreadsheet, this isn't it, there is a spreadsheet which lists every noticeable bench, poppy, recording device, laptop, everything is on it. So everything we purchased, and I purchased most of the stuff with my own money and got money back, so I know it's gone on this list because I've insisted. So we can sort that.
so that's gone off the Scribe.
Got it.
Because I distinctly remember that in one previous council, we did discuss the asset register. So there was an asset register, because I remember that there were a couple of benches that were not there.
Yes.
And we did put them in the asset. So there must have been the asset.
Sorry, I thought it was.
Yeah. Can I
Sorry,
just,
Shasta.
I think what we clarified, we haven't got the asset register tonight. So we'll need to get hold of that from the local clerk, which we've got a relationship with, and that will be circulated. I do have, in 2024, which was this year, last year, May, the asset register continued. Benches, Woodchurch Road, times 4 required replacement. All 4 metal structures are rusted, wooden section and seats are damaged from wear and tear. Risk assessment required as part of the AGAR process of insurance. This was conducted a full risk assessment of all our assets, 2 times defibrillators that are checked monthly, battery maintenance required for the Hollies defibrillator, expiry date, 2 padlocks required for replacing Vesperose Drive notice board. The parish asset register liaised with the auditor to ensure the asset register was updated and items including defibrillator and therefore park accounted for. So there was work done last year, and out of that came a lot of work around the maintenance of our assets. And unfortunately, again, demise of clerks, and that's just sat there. So this assessment, we just need someone to go around and do the assessment again when they've got the list. And I think that can be done between now and the next meeting. It can be circulated, and if anyone's willing to go and do that assessment, I'm quite happy to walk around with anyone if they do know where the stuff is.
I'd be happy to share the workload.
Okay. Any other?
Can I suggest it needs to go on the website as well, under the financial, the asset list?
Yeah, can go on that, yeah. So can I have a proposal that this is,
I think it should be circulated to all councils.
yeah, to be served.
Everybody can take a look and say, I feel that's missing, that's not.
And in the email then, we're just looking for someone to assist myself.
I mean, I'd rather not, so I'm more than happy to step back out.
No, but that's fine.
That's it.
Will the asset register be available?
As long as it's
Yeah.
circulated with everybody.
Between me and the clerk, we'll ensure that asset register is circulated in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so that's an action.
Jeremy, I'll send you an asset list. It's not accurate. It's the last one I saw when I was at council previously. It's 2019. But we haven't bought that much since 2019.
Yeah, so that when we will start in order.
Lovely.
There's something to work on.
Yes, no, that's great, thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you for that. Item 638, update on the new domain name and website hosting. So this is our emails and website.
Yes, excuse me. Yes, I just put it on there just to let you know that I have been in touch with Freethought, who are the new domain and website hosting. The invoice that was on tonight was the they have to pay up front for that. And so as soon as that's paid tomorrow, if you could be aware, and I'll get it done, I'll get all the payments done first thing in the morning, if you could do your usual. Yeah, that would be lovely. And then I can get in touch with Freethought to get this sorted out then.
Just on a side note, I'm missing a receipt from the board today for, yeah. I'm missing your receipt for the design.
Thank you.
So we're happy with that then. So what's happening with the domain then?
So once the now that invoice has been doing, I'll pay it tomorrow, and we can then get cracking on the
You already talked with them about the migration, because I assume that once we have the domain, the migration can start from there.
Yes. As soon as we've paid, they will get cracking on. My only concern is my lack of ability to get onto that, because
Yes, but they should be able, what my understanding was that they say that they were able to assist, and I mean, I can assist, but there is the issue, and Councillor Gardner, I think can assist, there is this issue of the passwords.
Yeah, the
Because
main issue that
theoretically,
I've got-
you should be the only one that has the passwords.
So the main issue that I see is from what research I've done, the website's hosted on a cPanel and we don't have access to that portal. So how are they going to get access to the data to migrate when we can't access the data?
We can try to contact the old
I believe the clerk's domain.
I've tried. I have contacted. Trying to contact Councillor. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yes, Prairie Bryan and Cal Bryan. I've sent several emails and I've phoned, but I've had no response.
I've got to ask, who is it who's in control of the website?
This is the thing I feel
This is the problem.
This is my problem.
The website.
So my understanding for how long I've been here is it was hosted by a family member of a councillor, then something happened, then suddenly we lost access, then a payment was made, and then suddenly we're changing over to a .gov. That's pretty much how it answers that.
The website was a bit when I was looking for it.
It certainly is due an update,
Yeah.
but we are regulated on what we can put up there as a template, I believe.
Just because
No, I think just basic housekeeping there was none. Basically.
There was events
And
from
there's an audit trail of lots of issues around the
We have an
website.
FTP access only for uploading in 2 areas, the agenda and the news, and that's it.
We can just get onto the house tonight, no, we don't know.
Just conscious of the time, councillors. So we've got an update there. So the item 640, information on the governance review from Edinburgh Council.
We missed an item.
outcome of the code
So item 639, this is relevant to Councillor Jones. Councillor Jones has sent his apologies. He's not in attendance, unfortunately. That matter can't be dealt with tonight. Councillor.
There's been other code of conduct complaints, haven't there, during the life of the parish that have never been reported to the parish?
That's correct. Because, and I've got to be careful here because there's a breach of the code of conduct to discuss code of conduct complaints. What I can say, the code of conduct complaints that have been made are not on the parish councils because they've not been substantiated. So the monitoring officer and independent person has conducted a thorough review over several months because I've been 3 complaints made against us, none of which have been substantiated. Fact. And I feel my heart rate going up now because over the 6 months I've not been able to defend myself. What's been put out on social media, my family's seen, despite requests.
Yeah, but 5 code of conduct complaint against me that have not been upheld, so you must hold the record.
So,
I must hold up the record code of conduct complaint against me that have
So-
not
so-
been accepted and have been rejected with the utmost
Reality is that
scorn
the
by the council by giving
thank you. There's a code of
Thank you for
conduct.
your opinions.
There's a code of conduct complaint and there was a resolution. The council isn't here, and I think it's unfair to then discuss this.
Okay, so.
Can I make a motion that we move it to next month then?
Can I finish? Councillor?
Yeah, I have to say, I am very uneasy about this being on the agenda.
Okay,
This is a confidential matter.
right,
It has to be because of the judgment.
Ah,
yeah, so I think that's the thing, the monetary officer's found, and there's a judgment being made, and the outcome, all I can say is a public apology, that needs to be done in public, so we couldn't restrict it to just councils only. The matter will go back to the monitoring officer, because there is a time frame around this. And I believe that we should move on, because I've been criticised heavily in meetings I've not attended, and that's unfair, because I'm not here to defend myself. Councillor King will have a view. So the motion to move this to the next agenda. Anyone second that?
I'll second that.
Councillor, all in favour? Anyone against? Abstain? Councillor Evans. So, information on the governance review, together with other councils, that's the parish council. Item 640, I'll ask the clerk to give an update.
So you've all had copies of the report from Democratic Services. So they are recommending that the parish does split. They are recommending that we go to review, and the review is open now. And the review says that the council should split. The first one to cover Deer Park, and the Basswood Lodge area of St Albans Parish will be called Parish Council of Deer Park, and that a new parish with a parish council is established to cover the area comprised of Top Valley, Emmanuel Church area of St Albans Parish, named the Parish Council of St Albans, and the parish council should have 7 members. The parish of the parish of council of Deer Park should have 5 members. Elections should be held on May 2026 for the new parish councils, with further elections held the year after to return the parish council to the appropriate cycle of elections for all other Gedling parishes. The current parish council of St Albans should be dissolved, and the current parish of St Albans be abolished. They've also recommended, I think, the split of 2080 for the, and I'm assuming that's for the reserves, and then obviously there will be precepted once the elections have taken place. As I say, those recommendations are open for review as of Friday last week. So I think really then to make sure that everybody is aware that they have, they can know their views on those proposals.
And I think, from my perspective as chair, is the reports there, the draft reports there, it kind of draws a line in the sand where we see ourselves in the next 12 months. The consultation will close in May, but that's a strong indicator of what the feeling is in Gedling Council. And I think we need to have that in the back of our minds when we're dealing with parish business, because we can still function as a parish, but at the same time we've got to look at the real prospect that we'll go our own ways. So be realistic with what we plan. If that helps. Councillor.
Does the review cost parish council anything, or just Gedling Council?
I don't believe it costs anything, no.
Sorry?
I don't believe it costs anything, no.
Well, it costs Gedling then.
No, it costs us.
Yeah, so we will pay for that.
I think it's money well spent, to be fair.
Well, parishioners have raised the issue about the expense of
That's
things,
right.
and I think this is also in the same basket.
If I understand it correctly, this can be reviewed, and I think that most of if I read it correctly, the decision was taken because there were observations coming almost exclusively from Deer Park area, probably from members of a certain Facebook group that was set up for the pupils of splitting the parish.
Your
And in
also
my
Facebook-
personal opinion,
Oh, don't
there
answer the
hasn't
question.
been,
What Facebook?
in my personal opinion, there hasn't been enough information about the costs associated with splitting the parish. So I think that it's a good idea, at least personally, to do a campaign of information for the citizens. That if they split the parish, since there is a part of the cost that is a fixed cost, the clerk, the domain name, and I don't think this has ever been mentioned to the parishioner, they will have to pay substantially more in council press, and see if they can make a second reservation, maybe changing their mind about the first reservation, and also some more observation from this side, because I don't think people have understood exactly what it entails.
I'm sure you've got a view, Councillor. Councillor Rachel?
Yes. Yes, I mean, I did note the ratio between people from Deer Park and people from the rest of the parish. I simply want to say it's actually a consultation with members of the public, and it doesn't reopen the argument. What it says, if you have a look at it, is this is the proposal. You either accept it in its entirety or you reject it. That's it. So it just needs to be clear to people. They can't say, well, I want that bit, but not that bit. You either accept the whole thing or you reject it.
I can say,
It doesn't say that at all, actually.
when you look at an election as a Labour Party or Reform or your independent party, you go out and canvass, because you canvass for what you want to promote. Now, on Facebook, if you want to talk about Facebook, One Action Group, you promoted the consultation, you promoted the consultation, Councillor Jones has promoted the consultation, not only on his own Facebook, but across Arnold, Gedlin, Mapley, Top Valley, Bestwood. So the reality is,
I didn't say this.
the fact is,
It wasn't on the Deer Park.
Because
That's
part-
why
no,
I am
no.
not criticising that.
But-
I'm making an observation.
Exactly.
Simply that.
because people have organised and they're now going to penalised because they've organised themselves to feed into that consultation. I can say there was consultation done in the Warren area, because I've done it. I went and knocked on doors around Warren. So some of them numbers, some of their contributions come from people.
I reiterate, I am not criticising. It's what happens. You know, it is part of the democratic process. I'm simply making an observation. That's all.
Well, when speaking to people on the doorstep, I didn't hear anyone that wanted the parish council split.
I think, you know, there's kind of,
It was mostly people on Deer Park Drive that wanted the parish council split because they don't want to be part of that. They don't want, for some reason, they don't want to be part of the other areas.
Well, I think you need to look at it in a 5 years rather than just 20 minutes.
Personally, it seems like people Deer Park Drive.
I think you're endangering of, you've got 7 years worth of things to reflect on. I mean, the report's there. All I ask councillors, go read the report. There's appendices there. There's people who put their views forward. And like a consultation, as a council, if we had a council that over the last few years that could sit together and discuss this maturely, which we haven't. That's why you have a public consultation, and we're going down that route. And you know, we're near at the end of it. But I'm happy to discuss outside the meeting with you at length. Councillor.
Yeah, Chair, I think just this last 10 minutes talking about this subject demonstrates, okay, that there isn't open dialogue. People are not listening to the entire parish. And when you look back over the last 5 years and look at the proposals being put forward for projects for the parish, they've always been knocked back because it's in one area or another. And the two areas have two distinctive needs and requirements and wants. And people are not seeing it for that and haven't done for 7 years. Okay? There's only a few councillors over the years I've seen this parish council deliver projects for the entire parish. And I'm one of them. Okay? There's been other things that I've wanted to deliver for the parish and have failed because the people around this table, not not present, the previous councillors have not agreed. Now, it gets to the point where one area of a parish council has not been represented, despite the fact they've been very vocal. And that's how we got here. Now, when you ask, or you say, or what's an observation, that over 200 people, which was more than who turned out for your elections, okay, well, it's very true.
300 turned out for our elections, and you said you...
Well, yeah, but over 200 in one area. So proportionally, in one area, there's a higher turnout in one area of the parish who's come out and said, enough's enough. There's been over £30,000 being spent in one area. There's been very little spent in another area. And nobody wants to address the issue of Energy United. There's councillors who have been wanting to have a community hub 400 metres from this location. I look at you, councillors, because you asked the parish council to consider this, which would absolutely destroy this church. It would destroy this community hub. Well, that's exactly what Reverend Nicky told me. So, for the record, what is wrong with this community hall here? That serves the entire parish. What's wrong with it? It's got a kitchen, it's got toilet facilities, it's got access. But Energy United wasn't offering the same thing. Energy United was about sports facilities, improving sports facilities for the